All right, Swifties. Tell me when to stop.
Wait. I can tell you when to stop.
All right,
I'm not in on this. I don't know what he's saying. Stop.
All right, I'm not going to look.
Did you actually stop where I said stop?
I'm not going to look. Let me guess what it is.
All right.
The King of Diamonds.
No, you're wrong.
Alright, well that didn't work. Hello Swifties and welcome back to the Swift Boys podcast. This is season 3 episode 6. Today, much like Zuko in every episode of The Last Airbender, we are going to be talking about Exile. Now this happens to be the second best song on the Folklore album, so this will be a premium episode, Swifties, so set your expectations high. Captain Natty and the Chemist, that's who we are. Captain Natty, give me your first thoughts, first impressions of Exile by Taylor Swift and Boniver.
First of all, it's pronounced Boniver. So this is, I think it's the only song on Folklore that features someone else,
yes,
right?
The only male voice we get on Folklore.
Yes, and it's very reminiscent of The Last Time from the Red album.
Also the only other male voice we hear on any other album? We hear some Ed Sheeran.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not going to go as far as to say that because I don't know all of them off the top of my head, but basically, to me, this song is like a sequel to The Last Time on Red. The stories aren't necessarily talking about the same thing, but like when you look at the life cycle of a relationship or what it's talking about, what each song is about, they're kind of like basically what Exile talks about here in Folklore is basically almost a direct sequel to what The Last Time talks about on the Red album.
Side note, I did not know until researching this episode, by which I mean pulling up the lyrics, that Boniver is not the guy's name. That's the name of the group. The lead singer of Boniver is Justin Vernon. So the guy's name is not Bon or Bone or whatever. So Justin begins this song as follows. I can see you standing, honey, with his arms around your body, laughing, but the joke's not funny at all. And it took you 5 whole minutes to pack us up and leave me with it, holding all this love out here in the hall.
I guess before we get into analyzing the lyrics, let's back up and remind our listeners what The Last Time was about.
Okay.
Because that's a kind of important context, or at least with kind of the way we're laying it out as this being like a sequel to that song. That'd be some important context that people are aware of if they're not very familiar with that song.
Right. So first go back and listen to our episode on it. We did a full form episode on The Last Time. I think we combined it with another song, didn't we?
I actually don't recall.
I think we combined it with the other featured song on Red.
Oh, Everything Has Changed? Yeah, I think we did.
Yeah, I think that's the case.
Anyway, so The Last Time on the Red album is about the last time from both the guy and the girl's perspective,
right,
that they're going to, one, on the girl's side, accept him back for another chance, and from the guy's side, like, oh, is this the last time that I'll ask for another chance, last time that, like, I'll, break your heart or whatever he was doing wrong.
Right. It's a really neat concept of them both singing the same lyric, but it meaning something totally different coming from each one of them.
Right. And so now here in Exile, it's like basically after the fact. It's like, oh, it was the last time. Oh, no, actually, it wasn't the last time. And now, we're going to get a lyric later. It says second, third, and 100th chances. Like, okay, the guy screwed up too many times, or, whatever friction was there caused too much strife, and now it's over. And now we see after the fact with them, from the girl's perspective, with the new guy, and the guy, by himself, right, still like getting over it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Contrary to the song "We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together," there is still hope for these two.
We'll see. I don't know.
See.
Yeah.
So in the first verse, I can see you standing, honey, with his arms around your body. So this guy, Justin, his real name is Justin, but, the character is nameless.
Call him Boniver.
Boniver is watching Taylor Swift and her new lover. Or maybe not even Taylor Swift. This is the Folklore album.
Right, this definitely isn't. This is, yeah.
Right, I mean, it's not autobiographical.
This is not like about a specific relationship. It's very wide open and vague, so It's like you can kind of relate to it in your own way.
Yeah, for the sake of simplicity, I'll call the girl Taylor and maybe the guy Justin, and who knows, maybe the other guy's name is Scott. Anyway, so Scott and Taylor are sitting there. His arms are around her body, and Justin is watching this happen. Laughing, but the joke's not funny at all. So Taylor Swift is laughing at Scott's joke, But
we probably shouldn't use Scott. Scott, I know you want to use Scott because that's your name, but Scott's also Taylor's dad's name. And I feel like that's what more people would be thinking about when they hear you say Scott, not your name. No offense.
Right. So
then it's kind of weird.
Yeah, because when Taylor listens to this, I don't want her to be too confused. So the chemist and Taylor are...
no.
Okay. So anyway, the guy that she's with tells a joke. She's laughing at it, even though it's not funny, because she's flirting with him.
That's not how I interpret the line.
All right, how did you
Because this is all from the guy's perspective who just got broken up. From Justin's perspective. Yeah. And so I think, the new guy that Taylor's with is telling this joke that is funny and she's laughing, but because he's, spiteful and still getting over it, he doesn't think it's funny, right? It's like, he's so over them. He's so like not into that, even if it was an actual funny joke, he's like, oh, this isn't funny at all. And it's also like, I think referencing their relationship breaking up is like a joke. So you're laughing, but the joke, it has double meaning, the joke that he told, but then also the joke is referencing, just the sad comedy, this tragedy of the relationship falling apart. That joke's not funny at all.
Right, because Taylor might even be telling stories of this past relationship to the new guy that maybe she thinks is funny. Maybe. But regardless, Justin does not find this joke funny, as he is apparently spying on them hanging out. And then Justin says, "It took you 5 whole minutes to pack us up and leave me with it." So we see that from Justin's perspective, he feels that Taylor thought a lot less of this relationship than he did, because it took her 5 minutes to throw it out and be done with this relationship.
A 5-minute breakup, something, conversation, text, phone call.
Yeah.
We don't know. But basically, he feels jilted, right?
Right.
By the way it went down.
And he's holding all this love out here in the hall. So probably, he's knocking on her door, they're breaking up, and then she closes the door on him, and he's out there in the hallway.
Right. Well, and that's where if we look back at the last time, the image is him going to the front door and knocking and being like, take me back. And so now it's like, she finally didn't open the door. He's stuck out in the hall. That's
a pretty strong connection there.
And I also think there's another image with, the song is called Exile. In the chorus, there's a lot of like, you are my crown, you are my kingdom, you are my land. Mm-hmm. And so there's like this royal imagery throughout the song. And like hall is like, like the great hall, like in a castle or something. Like, oh, you're stuck in the hall. Mm-hmm. So throughout the song, we're going to see that like the relationship being treated, or image using royal imagery. Yeah. Throughout the song.
I remember being in 9th or 10th grade, and I didn't understand the concept that like a hall meant like a banquet hall. Like in Harry Potter, the hall is where they eat. But I thought it meant like a literal hallway. And so we were reading Beowulf as a class, and they kept talking about the hall. And I thought it's literally just like people passing through a hallway, but it's more grand than that. Right. Justin Vernon, however you pronounce Boniver, goes on to say, "I think I've seen this film before, and I didn't like the ending. You're not my homeland anymore, so what am I defending now? You are my town, now I'm in exile, seeing you out. I think I've seen this film before."
Right, so it's like, oh, I've been here before. I know how this is going to end. I didn't like it. Right. I've seen a relationship fall apart.
Right, and yet he's the one who wants to go another time around, isn't he?
Right, but but he doesn't. It's not just his decision.
Right. But he says, I've seen this film before and I didn't like the ending. He knows it's going to end badly, but he's the one who keeps wanting to do it, right?
Right, but he doesn't like the ending because he knows that she's over it.
Oh, that she's going to say no. Okay.
Yeah, she's already with someone else.
Right. I thought he meant the ending of when they do get back together, it's going to end again. But
there's no assumption of them getting back together in this song.
Right, but he
the last time there is.
He might think there is.
Right.
Because he certainly wants to.
Right. It doesn't. Right. The last time is clear that it's like, oh, this is the last time, literally saying we are getting back together. But like, if it doesn't go well again, it's over.
Right.
Forever.
So yeah,
this is like, oh, that already happened. It's now you're in exile, right? Like it's over forever.
Right.
That's how I'm.
I like your interpretation of this because mine didn't quite make sense. So the ending that he doesn't like is her saying no to him wanting to start again.
Right. To like, clearly she's already with someone else. Mm-hmm. Right. It's not just like, oh, I'm still getting it over it by myself. Like, no, she's literally already moved on.
Right. So she's not his homeland anymore.
Right. So the line, "You're not my homeland anymore," as we mentioned, we get a lot of like royal like land imagery. So saying, right, like, "You're not my homeland, you're not home to me anymore." Mm-hmm. And then, the question, what am I defending now, is, again, it's like, as a king, right, you defend your land. And I think from the guy's perspective in this song, it's basically him saying, what am I defending now? It's like, oh, you're not my homeland anymore, so why do I still care? Why am I not over this?
Exactly.
Why is it taking me so long to move on? And then, yeah, and before we get on to Taylor Swift's part, the line, "You were my town, now I'm in exile, seeing you out." The last part of that line, to me, doesn't really make sense because he's saying, "I'm in exile, seeing you out." Well, no, he should be in exile, being seen out, right?
Right.
Like that, I think that's just to like kind of match what Taylor's singing.
Yeah, or maybe like seeing you out because he's like spying on them at this point. So he's seeing her go out. That might be a stretch.
Yeah, I feel like we're reading into this line a little bit too much. But basically, it's just, again, kind of like a repetition of the theme of, right, like, you were my town, you were my home, now I'm in exile, and it's over.
Right. And I assume he's not actually spying on them.
I mean, he clearly says, "I can see you standing
right.
with this around
maybe
your body."
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's something nefarious going on there.
And then literally Taylor Swift's line, they're...
Oh, okay.
Like, they clearly are, like, somehow ran into each other.
Right. I hadn't read this next line before.
Have you not heard the song before?
Somehow I missed it. I've never like sat down and read the lyrics before.
Okay, but I mean,
I've definitely heard the song because,
clear.
as I mentioned, it's the second best song in folklore, behind only Betty. Side note, I'm very excited, Swifties. This will not be news when this episode comes out because we take a long time to edit these. But this Wednesday, Taylor Swift will be performing Betty for the first time. Performing at the Country Music Awards, which she has not performed at in the past 7 years.
She finally has a country song that she can perform. And so it's exciting.
As you know, Swifties, I am a big country fan, so I am definitely looking forward to this. But I digress.
So before we get into Taylor Swift's part, should mention musically, there's two things I really like about the song. One, that it's basically all piano, which is great. It's like pretty unique for Taylor Swift to do that. Not as unique for Boniver. If you don't listen to other Boniver songs or haven't heard many other, I mean, it's it's definitely like alternative, but it is more instrumental and like more folk style when he's not like experimenting with random sounds. So it's not surprising from his perspective, but definitely pretty unique for Taylor. And also, like, holy crap, his voice is so deep.
Yeah,
like it's
right.
Remarkable.
There's like a 2-octave jump between the two of them.
And Bon Iver, like, he can do the whole range.
Oh,
like,
right.
He's so deep, and then later he'll get really high. And you see that in his other songs.
And right now in the pre-chorus, before Taylor gets started, he does these oh-ohs, and that's, higher than I can sing.
Yeah.
So Taylor Swift begins her side of the story. "I can see you staring, honey." So as Captain Natty just mentioned, she notices him apparently spying on the two of them beginning their relationship together. But she says, "I can see you staring, honey, like he's just your understudy." So this line I really like. As much as I said I hadn't heard it before, I have thought a lot about this line because I think it's really interesting. Justin is looking at this new guy like he's just the replacement. Like he's not your real boyfriend. Like he wishes he could be me.
Right. So, if you're not sure what an understudy is, basically, right, in theater, every main part has an understudy in case the main part like gets sick or can't perform. So you have someone that can step in and still basically perform just as well. Not going to be as good as the main actor,
right?
But a sufficient replacement. And so here we see, Taylor's saying, "Oh, you think he's an understudy," right? Which implies, that he's just your replacement, that he's not as good, that eventually I'll be over him and go back to you. Right. She's not saying that's what it is. She's saying she realized that that's
correct.
What he's probably thinking and wishing.
He sees that he thinks,
and this
she sees that he thinks that.
Further deepens into that like movie film acting imagery that we see with, I think I've seen this film before, right? Oh, this is the understudy, right? That just the replacement.
Right. So she sees him staring, honey, like he's just your understudy, like you'd get your knuckles bloody for me. So Justin's ready to fight for Taylor at the first sign of her needing to be defended, even though she's not his homeland anymore.
Right. And again, it's, that like imagery, that homeland, royal, like land imagery, right? Like,
right, like
you're ready to defend. You're ready to defend your homeland. He's ready to get his knuckles bloody.
Second, third, and 100th chances, balancing on broken branches. Those eyes add insult to injury.
So here we see Taylor referencing like, why are you still not, like, I've given you so many chances, not 2, not 3, 100 chances. And again, that's reflecting back similar to like the last time where we see, another chance. But that was in the last time, that's about the last chance that she gave him. And here we say, like, I gave you so many chances and Like,
right. Another fantastic line. Those eyes add insult to injury. So Taylor Swift looks over at Justin, sees the heartbreak in his eyes as he realizes that he doesn't want to see her with this new man. And Taylor says, those eyes add insult to injury. So she's been injured by this breakup between Justin and her, even though Justin feels like it was nothing to her. But the look in his eyes adds insult to injury for her, makes it worse for her.
Right, because you can see, like, you know, obviously whenever you see someone that you haven't seen in a while, or just whenever you see someone, that's going to bring up thoughts, emotions, and things. And so she sees him and sees, like, the look, realizing that he realizes what's going on with them, right, that they're now together. And that look of, like, simultaneous, like, you know, pain and also, like, you know, jealousy, right, like, ready to get his knuckles bloody. So it's, like, both, like, you know, just a multitude of emotions. And for her, you know, it's going to bring back, you know, the good and the bad. Right, so it's like she realizes, you know, how I interpret it is that she realizes that she made the right decision moving on, but like you're still gonna think about like, oh, there were still like good times, there's still reasons that they were together, there's still things about him that she liked,
right? And
it's like it's adding insult to injury because it's just like a reminder of what they lost, what they don't have.
Right, certainly there were some good things that she misses. She goes on with a chorus very similar to Justin's chorus, but there will be slight differences. And it'll take on a whole new meaning as Taylor sings it. I think I've seen this film before, and I didn't like the ending. I'm not your problem anymore, so who am I offending now? You were my crown, now I'm in exile seeing you out. I think I've seen this film before, so I'm leaving out the side door.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here. Now, it's very similar to the chorus from Boniver's perspective that we've already talked about. And it has the same opening line there. I think I've seen this film before, but I didn't like the ending, which we've already talked about. I think also something we haven't mentioned, it is kind of like I've seen this film before. Could also just be referencing the ups and downs in their own relationship. Right. They almost, you know, breaking up so many times, right? And didn't like the ending. But now it's like there is a true ending. Like, okay, I don't like this ending. And then I just love this line, I'm not your problem anymore, so who am I offending now?
Right.
Right? Like, we're done. Like, why... Yeah, I'm offending you, but like that's not my problem.
Right.
Right? Like we're not together. I don't owe you anything anymore. So like you shouldn't be mad at me for offending you for being with someone else because like I can make my own decisions. I can move on.
Right.
Like,
you shouldn't
we're
be
done.
spying on the new relationship happening now. You were my crown. Now I'm in exile. So Taylor Swift says she's in exile.
Right. So this actually sheds light on kind of what we were talking about earlier about this line, I'm in exile seeing you out. Like, how does that work if you're in exile but seeing the other person out?
Right.
And I think this shows it's actually because they're both in exile.
Yeah.
Seeing each other out. And we see, for him, he said, you were my homeland, right? Like, he was like the king over this land. Like, right. Like, you know, that like strong figure. And then for her, as like queen, you were my crown. Like, you were my king. Use it furthering that imagery, but then in exile, right? Like when you commit treason, when you do something against the law or whatever, you are put in exile, right? And so they both are now put in exile and seeing each other out,
right? So really, the homeland was the relationship because they're both in exile from that,
right?
So they're both leaving this. You know, it's gonna be hard for both of them, but apparently easier for one party than the other. At least from Justin's perspective. Okay, so now we get the bridge where Justin and Taylor are going to trade off some lines here. Very similar to the bridge in The Last Time, I think.
Right. Again, similar songs in both style and substance. Right. And it's just this is a pretty typical style of bridge for any sort of duet where you have like the guy singing a line, then the girl singing a line, and you go back and forth, and then maybe have some lines where they sing together. Right. But because you're getting both perspectives.
Yeah, and this part is... I keep saying this about every part of the song, but this part is a really great part of the song. Just hearing from the two different perspectives, how they just had completely opposite ideas of how this relationship was going. He thought everything was fine, and she was giving him signs that it was not. So it begins with Justin saying, "So step right out. There is no amount of crying I can do for you. All this time, we always walked a very thin line." So apparently, even in their relationship, they were on shaky waters.
Right, which we see because, you know, second, third, 100th chances. Right. There's always this thin line. They're going back and forth. And it was always like, you know, is it going to last? Are we going to make this work? And obviously here we get to the point where, no, like in the long term, it didn't work.
Right. Then Justin says, "You didn't even hear me out." Taylor repeats the same words. "You didn't even hear me out. Justin, you never gave a warning sign. Taylor, I gave so many signs. Justin again, all this time, I never learned to read your mind. Taylor agrees, never learned to read my mind. Justin, I couldn't turn things around. Taylor, you never turned things around. Justin, because you never gave a warning sign. Taylor again, I gave so many signs. Then both of them together, so many signs, so many signs. Taylor by herself, you didn't even see the signs.
So here we see them kind of recounting how it fell apart, but at the end of the day, they both blame the other person, right?
Right.
Like, Boniver's like, oh, you didn't even give me any signs, like that this wasn't working out. And Taylor's like, what are you talking about, right? Like, I gave you so many signs. Right. Which is like, oh, classic. All relationships fall apart because of miscommunication. Right. You know, communication is key. Certainly
a classic of relationships that stereotypically the female is, given signs that something's not right, and it's going over the guy's head. Yeah.
Just make it clear.
Right. I won't say I've never been in that situation before. Can I identify a little bit with Justin on this one? But then what confuses me is that they both say it together, so many signs, so many signs. So is he realizing the signs in retrospect, maybe?
Maybe. I think it's more just musically. Like,
okay.
It makes sense for them to sing together. Because then obviously Taylor says you didn't even see the signs. That's how the bridge closes. Mm-hmm. But then I don't think we should skip over the line, I never learned to read your mind. Never learned to read my mind. Because that's saying how he missed the signs.
Right.
Right. Well, obviously it's not so much like he had to read her mind, but like signs imply that it's not explicit. Right. That there's some like reading into it that you have to do. So you have to know how the other person's thinking. Yeah. And he never learned to read her mind. He never really grasped exactly how she was thinking through everything. Mm-hmm. And so that's why he didn't see the signs. But then obviously from Taylor's perspective, knowing how she thinks, obviously knowing what she's doing, she's like, well, how are you missing this?
Right.
Like,
yeah. I'm pretty sure I've used that exact phrase in past relationships that, well, I'm sorry I can't read your mind on this one. So, it's certainly come up before.
The moral of this song is communicate.
Right.
If you're in a relationship, communicate.
Yes.
Also, don't let it get to this point. Like, that's the number one.
Right. Don't let it get to the 100th
But you don't let it get to this point by communicating.
Yeah, you don't want to be looking in on Taylor and Scott from the outside. The chorus.
So basically, the chorus and the outro are basically repeating what we've already seen. Mm-hmm. There's no real new substance in the rest of the song. It's kind of just tying it all together, I guess. But it's pretty much using lines that we've seen already.
True. Yeah. The only thing we. It is all.
Yeah, it's pretty much all the same. I mean, so like we can go through it, but there's probably not going to be a ton to talk about that we haven't already discussed.
Right. So let's just keep talking about how freaking great this song is. Fantastic song, Swifties. I, for one, am looking forward to hearing this at Loverfest 2021.
That's assuming that
right,
that the concert happens next year, and that two, she would do a concert for 2 albums in one concert.
Yeah, so that's something I'm certainly wondering about. Hopefully, she uses this opportunity to take out some of the weaker songs on the Lover album and replace them.
Then just do like the best songs from both albums.
Right,
that'd be wild. I could see her just having 2 concerts.
Like if we could see a concert where we don't hear me, and instead we hear Betty, I wouldn't complain.
Right, but I think she'd rather just have 2 concerts where she plays both.
Right, and I'd certainly attend both. So if that's the way it's going to happen, I'm not going to complain about that.
So did we talk something I just thought about? Did we talk about the line in the chorus when Taylor sings it, where she says, and it's in like the chorus that we haven't gone through yet because it is just a repetition, but she says, I think I've seen this film before, so I'm leaving out the side door.
Right.
Did we talk about that?
No, we did not.
Because that's obviously a little different than what Boniver sings, and it's kind of significant because, right, leaving out the side door implies that she's escaping.
Right.
She's like getting away from there, which again is reflecting back to like, oh, it took you 5 whole minutes to wrap us up and leave me with it. Mm-hmm. That, it's like, okay, they are both in exile, but at the end of the day, it is more Taylor putting him in exile than vice versa.
Right.
There is still a sense of being in exile,
right,
both of them, but it's definitely worse from one perspective.
Because she was certainly able to move on a lot faster than him. So
right, clearly
implies that she may have initiated, or at least been thinking about it earlier than him.
Right.
Perhaps. The side door kind of, to me, it ties to the imagery of the film, because if you're in a theater, there's some side door that you might cut out there, at least in theaters I've been to. Speaking of theaters, can't wait to go back to theaters, man.
I was at a movie theater 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
Last week, yeah.
Wow, must be nice.
Yep. They're open some places, not everywhere. Just depends on where you are.
Yeah, not here.
Not in Seattle.
Yeah. Swifties, if you're wondering what's going on in our lives, we can't go outside. The air quality is hazardous. Our international listeners may not be as aware, but the entire west coast of California is currently on fire.
Well, and Oregon and Washington.
Oh, I meant to say the entire west coast of the country.
Of America, yeah.
Yeah. The U.S., not the full America, north and south.
Of the United States of America.
The United States of America is on fire, Swifties. Outside, we cannot see very far. It is very hazy. It is the equivalent of smoking a pack of cigarettes for each 10 minutes that you spend outside.
Are you serious?
That's just based on my own estimation.
Okay, I doubt it's that bad. But
That's
freaked me out there. I was like, damn, I was outside for a little bit.
That's my own personal science that's made up. So
seems reasonable.
Yeah. Basically, you're welcome, Swifties, that we...
I had to go outside to get here.
We fought through the smoke.
Basically, I'm sacrificing my lungs to deliver an episode, so...
Yeah.
Smash that like button.
Right. So it is pretty wild. You can't really hang out inside because of COVID, and you can't hang out outside because of the fires. So pretty dark period in history right now, Swifties. But we're gonna make it through it. Listen to some Taylor Swift.
Yeah, I mean, all things considered, it could be worse.
Right.
That's
could be worse, but
how you make yourself feel better. Well,
but
it could be worse.
It could be better.
I agree. It could definitely be better. I think everyone thinks that. So.
All right, Swifties.
Anyway.
Well, make sure that you smash that subscribe button and ring that notification bell.
Yeah. If you're listening to us on like Apple Podcasts or just a podcasting service, a reminder that we do have a YouTube channel now. So this is on YouTube. Even if you don't listen on YouTube, it would help us out a lot if you just check it out. You can drop a subscribe.
Right. Even if you're not gonna watch it, give it a like, leave a comment, and then
and you can see our lovely faces.
Yeah, take a screenshot of it. Make that your wallpaper for your desktop. I mean, I guess recommend that.
I don't know. Just if you do that, don't let us know.
Let me know.
No.
Subscribe to or follow our Instagram, Swift Boys, one word, ending with a Z. I posted a great meme today. That's how you know when we recorded this. It's the day that I posted the meme making fun of Reputation.
Which is like every other day. You post a meme making fun of Reputation.
That's the only memes we make. Yeah. Anyway, Swifties, that's going to be it for us. Thanks for tuning in.
Yep.
We'll see you next week to talk about...
Track 5, My Tears Ricochet.
My Tears Ricochet.
One of the most complex songs on this album. And I would say underrated. Maybe one of her best Track 5 songs ever. Which is saying a lot because it's Track 5.
Yeah.
We'll have to talk about that. We'll give our updated Track 5 rankings. Last time we went over Track 5 was talking about The Archer. Right. And we gave our Track 5 rankings, which if you don't know about Track 5, Taylor always puts like her most raw emotional song on Track 5.
Yeah, spoiler alert, Track 5's bottom one, The Archer.
You think that? I don't know. I guess I'd have to go through the Track 5s.
I was just trying to make Captain Natty mad because I know
I don't love The Archer. I think it's underrated. Well,
yeah, so maybe we will give a ranking of the Track 5s next week when we talk about it.
Well, I'll just tell you, My Tears Ricochet is miles ahead of The Archer. I think we can both agree on that.
I've actually never heard My Tears Ricochet.
Are you? No, you're joking.
I've never really sat down and listened to it.
You better actually listen to it several times before.
All right, well, Swifties, we will see you next week, or more likely next several weeks.
Who knows? We don't have a schedule. If you already knew that, so I'm done promising every week because it's never gonna happen, and it's my fault. I accept that.
Yup. Oh, we should just do like a rapping segment.
No, we're done.
Bombing on a sweater already. Mom's spaghetti's nervous, but on the surface he looks calm and ready to drop bombs. Okay, but he keeps on forgetting what he wrote down. The whole crowd goes so loud. He opens his mouth, but the words won't come out. Snap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Oh, there goes